What's up, guys? My name is Jordan Young. I'm one of the residents here in the youth department. Super excited to have this lesson with you today. All right, so close your eyes and picture this with me. You're sitting in the window seat of an airplane. The takeoff is intriguing to you, so you watch as the plane leaves the ground. Once at altitude, the lights go off. Your eyes close, and you're out. 10 minutes into your nap, you feel the plane shaking slightly. You think it's only a dream until the captain comes on the intercom and says, "Ding! Ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We are going to encounter some turbulence. So if you would please remain seated, fasten your seatbelt. We'll be through it before you know it." You think this is just a casual storm until you look outside and see that you are flying into a storm cloud. As it gets darker and darker inside the plane, you become slightly more concerned. A startling vibration and a loud bang fills your ears. You look outside to see that the right wing of the plane has disappeared. It's blown off. The plane takes a sudden descent. The oxygen masks drop down from the ceiling. People are screaming. The drink cart spills, speeds down the aisle, crashes into the cockpit. Baggage spills from all over the compartments overhead. You try to move, but your seatbelt has you locked in, prohibiting you from moving. Okay, open your eyes. What's your feelings, emotions, words, thoughts, actions? Fear, right? Everything is crippled by fear. Without a miracle, there's no hope of you surviving. And the worst part is, you have no control over whether or not the plane goes down. Your life is dependent upon the pilot, not anything that you can do. The disciples had some of the same feelings as we look at the story in the New Testament book of Luke. So if you would, turn your Bible to Luke 8:22 through 25. Pause this video and read it to yourself. As you read it, imagine the feelings, thoughts of the disciples while they're on the boat. What were some of the disciples' feelings? Fear, helplessness, shock, panic. The crazy thing is, the majority of the disciples were fishermen. So many of them were more than comfortable in being on a boat. In fact, they were often prepared for the storms that would come their way. But this storm was larger than they could ever control. Despite their preparation and experience, the storm brought fear and chaos because it was out of their control. Take a minute to think about some of the things and scenarios in your life that you control. Your game console, your phone, your room, how you decorate it, your clothes, your style, when you wake up, when you go to bed. And the majority of these things, you can decide what to do and what not to do. You have control over them. There isn't much anxiety associated with the things that we control. Now let's think about the things you really can control. Making the sports team, whether you get sick, traffic, that's the worst one, the future, who you're related to, your popularity, and let's not forget, a worldwide pandemic. Which brings more stress? The things we can't control, right? We all desire to be in control. Because out of control, we feel powerless. In control, we can determine the outcome. We have the ability to influence what happens. This is one of the reasons why I hated roller coasters as a kid. I had no control, absolutely no control over what happened on the roller coaster. What if the cart came off the track? What if it just stopped at the top of the ride? What if my seatbelt came unbuckled? I had no control over anything except sitting in that seat. The only control that I had was to not put my rear in one of those evil rides. What I'm trying to say is that in the absence of control, fear and anxiety appear. That's exactly how the disciples felt. Their control left and fear appeared. So what happened next? Let's look at verse 24. And they went and woke him, saying, Master, Master, we are perishing. And he awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was a calm. The fear of the disciples caused them no longer to look at themselves, but to the source of the control. The disciples had been with Jesus for a while now, and they had seen him do many miracles. He had raised people from the dead. He had healed the sick. He was about to feed the 5,000. But he had never shown his power over nature, something that no one could ever control. That was unheard of. But in this situation, he was their last hope. All control was gone. The disciples couldn't control the boat, and so they went to the one that was in control. So Jesus arose from his nap and calmed the storm with only his words. Think about that. Only his words. He said 3 words, and the storm ceased. That's insane. Usually in order to change something we are in control of, it requires action. But in this instance, Jesus only used words. Think about it this way. Would you be more inclined to do your chores if your parents told you they were going to take away your phone? Or if they actually took away your phone? If they actually took away your phone, right? Action sparks change more often than words. But in this case, Jesus was so in control of the situation, he didn't need action. All it required was words. His power outweighs any storm that was going to come his way. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Jesus is in control. When you can't hang out with your friends, Jesus is in control. When school looks completely different than it has in the past, Jesus is in control. When you feel lonely, Jesus is in control. And when a pandemic hits the world and no one knows how to respond, Jesus is in control. When fear and anxiety rise because of lack of control, we look to the one who is in control. Jesus is never shocked or troubled by a situation. He knew exactly what was going to happen on that boat. And he knew exactly that the storm was coming. And he used that in a way to show the disciples that he was in control. He always knows what will happen and promises to be the rock that you can lean on despite anything and everything when it goes to shambles. He doesn't want to be the last hope resort. He wants you to come to him now, knowing and trusting that he is in control. We are often tempted to focus on the storm around us when Christ really wants us to just look to him, the only way out. So personally, we must believe the promise that Christ is in control. And if you've given your life to him, then he most definitely is. Just as you would trust the pilot to land safely in a crashing aircraft, we must trust Christ to carry us through the storms of life, no matter how big or how small. Why? Because Jesus is in control.